the Ravens lost to Kansas City on Sunday, but the story today is how they're going to finish the rest of the season after being bit just terribly by the injury bug. Of the utmost importance is the injury to their quarterback, Lamar Jackson. He left the game midway through the third quarter with a hamstring injury. Their all-pro QB did not return, and so here's his head coach just yesterday.
There was speculation, I guess, yesterday because you had talked about maybe he might go back into the game if it were closer. There was no way he was going to go back into the game. Was that the case? Or if the game was closer, would he have gone back?
No, that was the case. There was no way he was going to go back in the game. The injury precluded it, during the game, you really just, you're playing the next series as a coach, but there was no way he could go back in the game. I know Lamar, the way I know Lamar, if he could have gone in the game, he would have been in the game. That's how he is. So, but I can assure you that he would not have been able to go back in the game under any circumstance.
Right, so that doesn't sound promising, but it wasn't just Lamar. Injuries piled up for the Ravens on Sunday. Ronnie Stanley, Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins also left the game. And yesterday, the defensive tackle, Nnamdi Madubuike, was ruled out for the remainder of the season. Ravens are 1-3. It's not good when you hear the head coach say, yeah, the quarterback couldn't have gone back in. Didn't matter, the circumstance. At the end of the game yesterday, the Ravens were without 7 defensive starters. It's a disaster in Baltimore, not to mention they haven't looked great. Are you okay?
I'm all right.
All right. Canty,
Gotcha.
Are the Ravens, I hate to be dramatic, are their Super Bowl hopes over at this point?
Yeah, it's a wrap for the Baltimore Ravens. And this reminds me of the 2015 season where the Ravens led the league and guys on IR. This organization, it seems to happen to them every 10 years. In 2005, they were 6-10, double-digit loss year. It feels like it's their year, which is a real shame, right? Because Lamar Jackson, since he's become the full-time starter, has played at MVP level every single year. Lamar Jackson is the best regular season quarterback since prime Peyton Manning. He's that good. And when he starts and finishes a season, the Baltimore Ravens average a dozen wins. Yep. And the fact that they haven't gotten to a Super Bowl with him at the height of his powers is a travesty. What makes it even worse is what's going on around the AFC. Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow, out for what we believe to be the rest of the season. The Kansas City Chiefs don't look like the Chiefs of old. It feels like there was an opportunity for them to rise up. But considering that Lamar is likely not going to play in Week 5 against the Houston Texans, considering they have a Week 7 bye, he likely won't play in Week 6 against the Rams, you could be looking at 1-5 going into Week 8. And if that's the case, then this season is a wrap. They're not competing for a division title. They're not making the postseason.
The reason I feel that way, the reason I agree with you is because of the injuries. If it were not for the injuries, I wouldn't feel that way. I'd believe they could come back. By the way, you can get in the playoffs as a wild card, and once you're in, it's a new season, and I would not rule them out. But the plethora of injuries that they've incurred, that's really where this stands out, because you're looking at the personnel that just ain't there. And if they ain't there, what you gonna do? John Harbaugh, you'd like to believe he's somebody that could figure it out because he's John Harbaugh. But we've seen no indication that that is something that could happen. And now that Lamar Jackson's going down, he brought up the fact that they could be 1-5. I think it makes sense. I think that this season looks in grave jeopardy.
I'm going to wait to say that they're done. I want to know what this hamstring is for Lamar Jackson. I feel that good about when Lamar Jackson is on the field, the Ravens have a chance to win every game they play in. And I know this last one didn't look great, and you got so many defensive questions. But this franchise has given me they built enough credit for me to think that if they can right the ship, and if people can get back outside of Nnamdi being gone for the entire season, that they can turn things around. I still harken back to last year. The Ravens were awful on defense last year for majority of the season, and they pulled it together and started to become the team that we thought they would be. The problem that I have with the Baltimore Ravens right now is Derrick Henry had 8 carries last week.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if you worried about him fumbling. I'm not sure if Todd Monken has lost his damn mind about who's in the backfield, but you should be able to still dictate games. Just like you brought up with the Cincinnati Bengals, right? And how that defense is overexposed. We know the Ravens defense ain't good, but they play a lot because this offense has not made the conscious decision to be who they should be. That's a physical downhill running football team. Obviously, with Lamar Jackson's hamstring, you don't have that option right now, today, as for him and Derrick Henry to dictate games and what you do offensively. And when I look at the Baltimore Ravens, I still know Zay Flowers is out there. I still know that DeAndre Hopkins is out there. I still feel like Kyle Hamilton is one of the best safeties in the NFL. There's still a plethora of talent. Now, obviously, with the injuries on the defensive side, they got to get some guys back. I'm not ready to throw the Ravens away yet. I had them as Super Bowl favorites at the beginning of the season. That has waned, but I'm not ready to say that this team is completely done if they can get healthy and start playing a certain style of football.
I'm glad you brought that up about Derrick Henry because there's no excuse for him to have 8 carries. And especially since your defense is as poor as it's been, you offset that by running the damn football and keeping your offense on the field and wearing down the opposition and throwing the offense off because if they ain't on the field enough because the opposition is running the football effectively, you might disrupt your rhythm to some degree, and that might be an assistance to the defense as well. But I'm looking at Derrick Henry. Yeah, he fumbled 3 straight games. Big-time fumbles against the Bills and the Lions. We get that part, but he's still Derrick Henry, damn it. You give him the football. You figure out a way to do that. And by the way, you might have Ronnie Stanley injured at your left tackle, but nobody else is. So your offensive line, most of it is intact, which means that you should be able to run the football. That's why I totally agree with Swagu in terms of what he was saying about Derrick Henry. But I get what your point is, 1 of 5 start. That's what it can end up being. And I don't know how you overcome that
Chris,
in this year's AFC.
Go for it.
I know you finna. Let me just. I'm just going to say this for people at home and to understand what we're saying about Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has 49 carries on the season. Mm-hmm. He's tied for 24th. Your most dominant offensive weapon is tied for 24th in carries on the season. He has a total of 284 yards. That's 8th. He's 24th in carries and 8th in yards.
Because they're playing from behind a lot. They're not winning football games.
Shay,
I'm just
they
asking.
are-
But they've been in the
No,
game.
they had a double-digit
night or
lead
Sunday,
against the
was it?
Buffalo Bills.
And stop giving it to
Sunday was a
him.
mess.
They had go ahead.
Go ahead.
They had a touchdown lead in the second half against the Detroit Lions. So I mean, like it's not like the Baltimore Ravens haven't had a lead and they couldn't lean on their offense and running game to salt it away. It just hasn't worked out that way. Now, I think a big part of that is because although Derrick Henry might be the best weapon for the Baltimore Ravens, he's turned out to be the best player for the opponent's teams with the fumbles.
Yeah.
Right? You can't trust a guy that continues to give the ball to the other team.
Can we not take historically?
He was running all over Buffalo before that fumble.
And can we not take historically that this is an anomaly for Derrick Henry? This is not something that is
I agree. This is an anomaly, but I also recognize that it's an unsettling pattern when it happens in 3 straight games, and 2 of those turnovers end up being the deciding factor.
But here's my point. But he's Derrick Henry. He ain't going nowhere.
Well, hold on.
You know you're going to use him. And by the way, he's averaging 5.8 yards.
Stephen A., okay, and we're going to use him in the future. But take a beat, give him a second to get his mind right, then you put him back in the game. Y'all make it sound like the Baltimore Ravens got no production from the running back position. Justice Hill had the same amount of touches that Derrick Henry did and had over 100 yards from scrimmage.
So in other words,
they don't dictate.
I want to make sure, Swagu, this man, I'm telling you, something wrong with him.
Something wrong with him
right now.
He told me
in other words, you're saying you're going to get up in the
go.
morning, you're going to look on national television, and you're going to be like, yo, Justice Hill, this brother's running the football. Give Derrick Henry a break. Let him take an afternoon off.
I said take a beat, Stephen A.
What's a beat? What does that mean?
Let him get.
That's a beat.
There you go.
All right, that's quick.
Sometimes that's what it takes for a player. Sometimes that's what it takes for.
8 carries. 8.
Chris.
He keep cutting me off. I can't make my point. That's what you do.
That's
what you do. That's what you do. That's what you do.
Let him make his point,
That's what you
Stephen A.
do.
Let him make his point.
That is what you do, Stephen.
Because I don't agree with it already, and I ain't heard it yet. Make the point.
Well, the point is sometimes that's what you got to do to help a player get out of his own head. And clearly, what we're talking about with Derrick Henry is something psychological. When you're going to the sidelines and you're asking guys, players, and coaches, what did you see? What am I doing wrong? After your 3rd fumble in 3 straight games, that is a problem. And all I'm simply saying is when you carry that football, you carry the hopes and dreams of the entire franchise. And Derrick Henry has been giving it away.
So your answer to that is 8 carries? Your answer to that is 8 carries.
Do you want him to have 20 carries
Yes.
and more fumbles?
Yeah.
Do you
Chris,
want more fumbles?
you are anticipating the fumbles. I get it.
How could you not? He's fumbled in every game except for the last one.
So don't start him then. Don't play him. Play somebody else. Because if he's in the game,
you give Derrick Henry the ball. You give Derrick Henry the ball.
That's like saying Steph Curry had 3 all-shoot nights. Let's let him take a beat and not give him shots.
Clearly, the Baltimore Ravens don't agree with you because they only give him the ball.
They should.
And that's the problem.
They should. This is not a day to say that the Baltimore Ravens don't agree with me. They should agree with me.
They
on this
should.
one. They're losing football games.
Okay.
Listening to that philosophy,
Chris,
I mean, a blasphemy coming out of your mouth.
What I think Candy's trying to say is it's mental. The fumbles are mental, like free throw shooting is, or a kicker maybe not.
So what do you do, Shay?
To get his mind right.
So what do you do? The season's still
It's
going on.
17 games.
What do you do?
82.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think Derrick Henry is an elite runner, but I think that maybe there's something going on up here between the ears that it needs a beat.
Oh, my goodness. Stop. Listen, let me ask you this question.
What's up?
What about how you fumble? Now, it's one thing if somebody just sit up there and hit you and you fumble the ball. It's another thing entirely if you coming up out of the backfield and the dude sneaks in behind and just pokes the ball. That can happen to anybody. That can happen to anybody. How you fumbling does matter, okay? It ain't like somebody hit. Listen, they're going after the ball, and we know that because they know they can't tackle the man straight up. And because this is King Henry that we're talking about here. But this brother's been in the league too long. He's been too productive, too sensational, too much of a man-child for you to sit up there and say, well, you know what? He struggled because he had 3 fumbles in 3 games, and we just ain't going to give him the damn ball.
Chris, you also got to understand. So I'm having a little bit of revisionist history.
What's that?
Yeah.
You got to also understand that this same coordinator that was leading the league in runs
AFC Championship
ran
game.
12 times in AFC Championship.
AFC Championship game.
Bruh, like I get take a beat my ass. Derrick, don't fumble no more. All right? We gonna hand you the football because you dictate a lot of what we can be as a football team. Brother, whatever you need, if you need to be like Petey from Remember the Titans and walk around the city with the football, go through Baltimore with the football and have people run up on you and try to I don't care what you got. Take that beat. But when we get to this game, I'm gonna give you the ball more than 8 times when we need to win a game against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, guess what, Mark? Guess what's going to happen now? With Lamar Jackson being out, what you think they're going to have to do?
They got to give it to him.
They got to give it to him. They ain't got no choice.
I wish they would have been giving them to him more.
They ain't got no choice. So we going to see who ends up being right when it comes to this debate. We're going to find out in week 5.
All right.
And I
feel confident on the majority of his career than the last 3 fumbles. I'm confident in saying that if you give it to him enough, he'll have success. Okay.
I'm glad you are. I hope he is.
Chris, what do we have to go off? Are you going off 3 fumbles in 3 games, or are you going off the man career?
Listen, I'm going off of what I just saw through the first quarter of the season was him giving it up in consequential moments in the game.
No doubt, and I agree with you. And I've been on television and said that Derrick Henry needs to stop fumbling the football. But I'm not going to say Steph Curry going to take a beat tonight because he's not hitting 3-pointers. I'm not going to do it. The dude he ran for 1,900 yards last year. This team has to have Derrick Henry touch the football at a minimum of 20 times a game to win, especially with Lamar Jackson not being available anymore. Lamar hamstring might not be pulled if Derrick Henry got the ball more than 8 times last week.
Come on now. That's a hypothetical that nobody can prove.
It's a hypothetical.
It's plausible.
You using hypotheticals about taking a beat and thinking you're going to fumble more?
I'm not using a hypothetical. It's clear that it's a mental issue if you say that this is something that he's never done in his career.
This is 10th.
It's not physical.
This is 10th or 11th year, right?
Okay, yeah.
He's took care of the ball as well as any running back in the league.
But he's not taking care of the ball now when it's costing them games.
All right.
No, it isn't.
Give it to him.
No, it isn't.
It's not costing them games.
Excuse me. That defense costing them more games than his turnovers. That's a damn fact.
Defenses.
You know that. That's them.